In this video, we're going to cover the difference between advanced and basic warehousing and some of the major features. And in order to do that, we're going to start by looking at locations. So I have a couple of locations out here that are set up. I have east, main, north, southwest, so on and so forth. And if we take a look at east, for example, you can see that when this is set up down here under the warehousing features and types, there's absolutely nothing selected. And you can set up a warehouse with none of these features selected. And basically, you don't need to do anything with it. It just puts items in a warehouse. It doesn't track them to a bin. It doesn't require picks, putaways, anything of that type. And we can have a warehouse like this one that's north that I've set up. And this one actually has a couple of these features enabled. So it has bins mandatory, so anytime you make a transaction to put items, take items in and out of this warehouse, you have to have a bin. And I have require picks and require putaways checked, so that this will require that we actually create a pick and a putaway anytime we're doing transactions in this warehouse. And then in the south warehouse, I've configured this one. This is called an advanced warehouse setup, where I've check this box. It says use directed, putaways, and picks. And when I check this, it automatically checks all of these other boxes with the exception of the use putaway worksheet. And I can check that if I want to, but it will actually configure all of these things. This locks your warehousing system down to what's called advanced warehousing, gives you a lot more features, but also has more steps involved in processing documents. So whenever a warehouse is set up that has bins mandatory, you actually have to go in and configure bins for it. So if I select bins at the top of this, these are the bins that have been configured for this south warehouse. And these are an adjustment bin. These are bins where we're going to place things, B-100, 101, 102, 103, a receive, and a ship bin. And the adjustment bin, a receive, and a ship bin are required in an advanced warehousing situation because I have to have bin type codes out here. So here I've set this up as a ship bin. This is as a receive bin. These are called put-pick bins, and so we can actually put and pick items from these bins, where with the ship and the receive bin, you can only move items in and out of here through procedures. So this is an important function and an important distinction between the advanced and the basic warehouse. If we look down here under bins, I have to have a receive bin code, I have to have a ship bin code, and I need to have an adjustment bin code. These are features that will allow me to transact things in the advanced warehouse. If I look at the north warehouse, which is set up as basic, even though I have bins mandatory selected, and if you look down here, the receipt bin, these are grayed out. I can't make a selection here for the receipt bin, the shipment bin, the adjustment bin. These are grayed out. I can't make these selections at all. Another important distinction between basic and advanced, if you look at this bin capacity policy in this north warehouse, which is considered to be a basic warehouse, I can't adjust any of these things. This is never check capacity here. So in a basic warehouse, I can set min-max levels and so on and so forth, but it doesn't actually enforce those because I can't make this particular selection. If I go back over to the south warehouse, which is set up as an advanced warehouse, now I have some options available to me. Under bin capacity here, I can say, okay, prohibit more than the max capacity. Now this will enable me to, when I'm receiving merchandise, and I try to put it in the bin, it has a max capacity of 100, and I try to receive 150. It would just allow me to put it in 150 instead of limiting 100 in that bin and putting 50 in a different one. So this is an important distinction between these two warehousing systems. So the next thing that I'd like to take a look at is that we have some items set up in our warehouses. So this is our south warehouse, and these are items that we have in the bins that are out here. So in bin 100 and 101, we have this item. Bin 100 is set up to be the fixed and the default bin for this. And it is a type put pick, its bin ranking is 90. Notice this 101 has the same item. Its bin ranking is 70. And we also have the quantity on hand in each of these bins. For the item in bin 100, we've set a min-max level here. So my minimum that I want to have in this bin is 15. The max is 25. And the bin rankings that I have here will control how things move around. So when I try to replenish bins, what the system will do is it will take a item in a lower ranking bin and move it up to a higher ranking bin if the minimum requirement is not met. So here, if we had 20 of these, nothing would happen. But since we have 5 on hand and the min quantity is set to 15, this will try to replenish it up to its max, which is a maximum quantity of 25. So we can actually watch this work if I exit out of here and I go to the movement worksheet. So if I go to Actions, Functions, Calculate Bin Replenishment, and I'm going to do this to the movement template in the default worksheet, and I'm going to just click OK here. This will go out and search for anything that I have, and here's that item that we were just looking at. This is its zone, and it's going to take it from bin 101, and it's going to move it to bin 100, a quantity of 20, and that is to replenish that bin up to its max capacity of 25. So that's how bin replenishment works, and this is only available in the advanced warehousing system out of the box. You can have a custom program written that would do this in the basic warehousing as well. For simplicity's sake, we're looking at a single item, but in a normal warehousing environment, when you run this function, you'd get 50, 100, 200 lines into this movement worksheet. And then in order to process this, what you do is you go to Process and Create Movements. And this will move that over into a movement, a warehouse movement, where you can actually give the document to employees to go out and pick these items with a to and from where they should be moved. So I'll just go ahead and click this Create Movement, and it asks me if I want to assign it to a user. I'm the only one on this system, so I'm just going to say OK. And it's created a movement for me out here, a warehouse movement. So that deleted and cleared this line out. I'm going to exit out of here. I'm going to go to Warehouse Movements, and here is the warehouse movement that this has just created for us. And so what this is telling me to do is I'm going to take items from bin 101, and I'm going to move them or replace them to bin 100, a quantity of 20 of these. So this is designed then to be printed out, provided to your people on the floor. We can just preview this quickly so you can see what it looks like. And so basically it has a document that says, hey, take 20 of these from bin 101 and move them to bin 100. And the employee typically then would fill in the quantity that they moved from one place to another. This is brought back into the office, and then this is registered. So this movement is registered, and then it has actually moved these from one place to another. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to use these in another moment here. So I'd like to show you the difference now between how these actually work on sales orders. So for example, if I go to sales orders, I have 3 sales orders configured out here. This one is set up on the North Warehouse, which is a basic warehouse. And so here you can see that I've selected, for these 3 line items, I have selected the North location. And as I entered this in, it actually went out and it told me what bin these are in. So just as an example, if I delete this, I need to reopen it before I do that. So I'm going to reopen this, and then I'm going to just delete this line. And if I put this line back on again, and I tell it that I want to select these from the North Warehouse, it will automatically tell me where they're located. These are actually in bin 102. Now this doesn't happen when I'm using an advanced warehouse. So let's exit out of here for a moment. I'm going to release this order for a second. And then let's exit out of here and let's go to another order that I have. This order is designed around the south warehouse. And this has been released, so I'm just going to reopen this for a moment. And this has actually been designed around the south warehouse. So here I'm picking product from the south warehouse. And if I add another item here, let's just add a 19, well, let's add that same one that we just did, the 2000 item. And I tell it that this is the south warehouse. Notice that the bin doesn't fill in. It doesn't do anything here. That's because this is actually designed to work with the warehousing functionality. And when I create the shipment and the pick, it will display the bins. But the bins are not displayed on the sales line like they are with a basic warehouse. So let's take a look at how we can actually process these, getting the paperwork out on the floor to our employees to pull the product and so on and so forth. Let's start with the basic sales order. So this is in my north location. And because I have selected on this warehouse that picks are required, what we need to do here is to create a pick. So here I can generate an inventory pick put away. And I can assign this to a particular user. I'm just going to say OK. And it says one pick has been created. And then I can navigate to that pick by going to the warehouse and going to inventory, put pick lines. And I can look at the card here. And so this is actually the pick for this particular item. And what I can do with this is that I can actually print this. And I'm just going to preview it here on the screen. And this creates a document to go out to the warehouse floor. This is, hey, for this sales order, this particular item, 1920S, I'm going to pull this from the A-100 bin location, a quantity of 5. And my inventory, or my warehouse people would typically actually write in the quantity to handle that they've actually picked for this. So this document allows them to know what to pick and where to pick it from. Pretty simple process. So let's imagine that our employees have picked all 5 of these. They found all of the material for this. So what they can do is they could come in here and enter this quantity to handle. They could enter 5 and 5 and 5. And so they actually could go in and enter these. If there were less than, or maybe they only had 3 of these, they could enter 3 here. If this was a very large pick document and everything was picked for it, there's a function that allows us to autofill these. So if I go to Action, Function, Autofill Quantity to Handle, if when I pick this, it will automatically fill these in with the full quantities that we have here. So as you can see, it's completely filled the entire order. So if I've got 100 lines here and I picked all but 2 or 3, I would probably autofill it and go back and just change the quantity on the 2 or 3 that I didn't have sufficient quantities to actually ship. So once I've filled in my quantities to handle here, I can simply post this document, and I can post in print if I want. I don't have a printer hooked up here. This allows me to either ship these or ship an invoice. I'm going to select to just ship, say OK. And what this will do, this will actually go out and show that these 3 items have now been shipped out to the customer. So if I look at my sales order here and I move across to the area over here, I did have 5 each of these to ship, and now these quantities have been shipped. So when I'm ready now to invoice my customer, I can simply go to Post, Post, and I can just invoice this, or could invoice and ship it here without even pulling that pick document if I didn't have picks required. And I can say OK. And then this will actually go out and completely invoice this. Now this is a posted sales invoice. And this sales order that we're looking at here, this 1005, it is now gone. So it no longer exists out here. If we look at our list, we have 4, 6, and 7. 5 is now gone. Of course, when we invoice through the sales order system. It actually does produce a real invoice to the customer. So let me just go back here and go to posted sales invoices for a moment. That sales order ended in 105. So this ends in 105. This was a sales order that we just produced, and this is now a posted sales invoice. So when a sales order is completely shipped, it then becomes a posted sales invoice. And I can, of course, print this. I'm going to just view it. We'll just preview it on the screen. This is a default invoice, and of course, the invoice that customers have typically are modified to add their logo to them and so on and so forth. And this should pop up for us in just a moment. And this is the kind of document that would actually be sent, either sent to your customer or emailed to them. The sales order has now been generated, and this can either be mailed or emailed to your customer. So I've created a new sales order out here. I have the header completed, and this is going to be to customer 20,000, the Trey Research Group. So I've just created the header of this, but what I want to do now is I want to actually put some line items on here so that you can see basically how this works in the advanced warehousing system. So the South Warehouse is set up for advanced warehousing, and when I put this item number in and click off of here, notice it does not fill in the bin. So I can put in a quantity here that I want to ship an invoice to the customer. In this particular case, I'm just going to put in 1. I want to make sure there's nothing else on this line that I need, and there is not. So we're actually good to go to use advanced warehousing to ship this. So what I'm going to have to do is to release this order. And it's gone to a release state. And now what I have to do in this is that I have to create a warehouse shipment. So I can go to Actions, Warehouse, Create Warehouse Shipment. And this will create a warehouse shipment document. And then it will actually open it for me so that the document is open and ready for me to use. If you see up here at the top, it says warehouse shipment. It's assigned a number to it. The next step is to create a pick. So if I go to process, I can create a pick for this warehouse shipment, and I can assign it to a user. I'm just going to say OK here. And this is generating a pick for me. So the pick has been completed. And what I can do now is I just simply navigate to the pick. So I can go to Navigate, Pick Lines, and I can look at the pick lines. So this is the actual pick document that was much like the one you saw before, except this actually has 2 lines for each item. It has a take line and a place line. So I'm going to take it from B103 and move it to the ship bin. So I might have 20 items on here. I only have 1, but each item would have 2 lines. So a take line and a place line. Take it from here and place it over here. So I can follow sort of the same procedure here. I can print this document out and give it to my warehouse employees to go out and actually move that material. So if I preview this, it appears on the screen, and it has the take in place. So take from B103 and place in the shipping bin. So the place is automatically going to go to the shipping bin because with the advanced warehousing system, it holds it in an intermediate spot called ship until I actually finish the shipment. So again, my employees could write in the quantity that they actually handled here. They'd write in 1. They actually found this part, and they moved this one. They pulled this one and packaged it up, and it is now ready to actually ship. So you can kind of see where this is going. The advanced warehousing program is designed for larger warehouses where you have segregations of duty between those that pick and those that actually ship. So once the person has picked this material, what they do with this is that they actually just register the pick. So we go to Process, we register the pick, and this actually has committed this inventory. It now has been picked, and it's in the ship bin instead of in B1003. So this now has returned me back to the warehouse shipment, and from here, the people in the shipping department would verify the packages, get them all in the truck, and then they would actually process this. So what you can do from here is that you can pick Post when you're ready to actually ship this. We're going to Post and just ship. I'm not actually going to invoice. Again, if I ship an invoice, then it will actually complete this order, but I'm just going to ship this. I'm going to click OK. The program's going to go out and do its thing here. And it says 1 document's printed. It's because it's done a post and ship. It's created a PDF document of the shipment for me to save. I'm not going to save it. But this has now actually brought me back to the sales order. And again, over here, we have a quantity. To ship is nothing now. It is shipped 1, and it's waiting to invoice 1. So when you are ready to invoice this from the sales order itself here, you can simply go to Posting and Post, and now you can just invoice. And this order, which is 1012, it ends in 1012, will now actually be converted into a posted sales invoice, and this record itself will actually clear and disappear from here. So this sales order is now actually gone. So when I say a sales order is gone, typically what we do, when a sales order is completely shipped and invoiced, the actual sales order is deleted. It turns into a posted sales invoice. However, there's functionality out here that we can turn on, and it's sales order archive. And so we can turn on functionality. I don't have it turned on here, but we can turn on functionality out here. So every time you insert modify a sales order, it creates a copy of it in an archive document for you. So you can always go back and pull these up and review them or do anything you want to with them. So the advanced warehousing package, it actually offers a lot of features that aren't available in the basic warehousing program. And one of them is what people would call wave picking. So I can go out to warehouse shipments here, and I can just create a new warehouse shipment. I let it assign it a number, and I tell it what location I want to work on. This is going to be the south location. So I'm set up to look at documents that are in the south location out here, and I can now bring in multiple documents that I can create a single pick for, and then I can process them all at one time. So all I have to do to work on this, or to make this work, is go to Action, Functions, Get Source Documents. And what this will do, this will show me every sales order that is out in the system right now in the south location, and I can select the ones that I want. So for example, I could take just these 2, or I could take all 3. And if I take all 3 of these and say OK, this actually brings in all of the lines off these sales orders. As you can see, here's 106, 1006, 1007, 1008, and these are all the line items that are on these that are ready to be shipped out. So I can actually combine sales orders into a single shipment and a single pick. Once this is in here, then the process is exactly the same. I create the pick for them. I send that pick out to the floor. The warehouse employee then actually is able to see the document for these. So I go to my card, I do a print, and we can preview this. And here I'll have, as I mentioned before, you have a take and a place line for each item that's out here. And so this gives them the ability to, in a single document, handle multiple orders. Oftentimes this is referred to as wave picking, where you're actually combining orders together into a single shipment. I hope this has helped explain the difference between advanced and beginning warehousing and some of the capabilities of Business Central. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, remember to click below and subscribe for more.